Hi guys and welcome. Today we're taking a look at my new Fender American Pro II Jazzmaster. So first off, I wanted to talk a little bit about why I chose this guitar. I felt like I already had my bases covered with like a Stratocaster, Telecaster, Les Paul trio, and I wanted my next guitar to be more unique and bring something new to the table. And last year I went through sort of a surf rock phase, and I was really intrigued with the crisp, bright, clear sounding guitar tones I was hearing, as well as the, pitch bending vibratos and all that cool stuff. And that's when I really became intrigued with the Jazzmaster. I started looking into them some more, and I found that they're full of tonal varieties outside of just that typical surf rock. And I started to notice that a lot of the music that I like to listen to and play, like indie rock, a lot of that's played with a Jazzmaster guitar, and it's got a really unique sound, and I decided that I really wanted to get one. I started looking around to see what models were out there and what I'd be interested in. Since I'm left-handed, the model selection was really limited to basically just a Squier Classic Vibe 60s Jazzmaster, Fender American Pro II Jazzmaster, and a custom shop. And I was really after more of like a vintage Jazzmaster style model, and I knew a custom shop was going to be a little bit out of the price range. And a Squier, while a great budget guitar, I was looking for something a little bit more higher build quality and something that would, last me a long time that I'd be happy with. So I decided to get the Fender American Pro II model with the understanding that I'd probably end up swapping out some pickups and redo the wiring and all that to more of like a vintage style Jazzmaster. And that brings us to where we are today. Today I'm doing kind of a review, kind of a pickup swap, A/B kind of thing where you can hear before and after. And basically I'm just going to take you along my journey of my first Jazzmaster. So I found an American Pro II Jazzmaster on sale on Reverb, and I picked it up as soon as I could. And right away, super impressed with it. Right out of the box, the setup was perfect on it. The action was right where I like it to be. The bridge, I was able to do the whammy stuff, and it stayed in tune really well. The neck angle on it was set up already out of the box. You didn't have to put a shim in it and stuff like that like you do with other Jazzmaster models. So that was great. Sound wise, it's got one of the best clean sounds that I've ever heard. It sounds really bright and open and clear, but it still has a lot of low end weight and oomph and punch to it that just gives it a big sound. It doesn't sound thin like a Strat or a Tele. It's something I noticed right away was just how big it sounded. The middle pickup position is probably my favorite sound on the Jazzmaster that I've heard so far. And it's probably my favorite middle pickup position sound out of any guitars that I've ever owned. I typically don't use that position because it can make the sound really hollow and ice picky, and it's just not something that I've ever really been able to use well. But on this guitar, it sounds great, and I'm really loving that pickup position. What about the negatives? Well, so far, I'm a little bit unimpressed with the coil tapping feature on the bridge pickup. So on this model, they have a coil tapped pickup where you can basically add like a fat or boosted sound, and I'm not really a fan of it. I kind of like the unfat boosted sound when the push pull pot is in the up position. I think it sounds better. Once you engage it, it kind of sounds muddy and dark and not really what I want out of a bridge pickup. Also, the series parallel switch, basically what they added to replace the rhythm circuit, Not really impressed with that either. Whenever it's engaged, again, it sounds kind of muddy and dark. It could be usable in certain situations, but I think that I'm kind of looking for more of that classic rhythm circuit sound. And if it's going to sound muddy, you might as well just have the rhythm circuit in there, because that's what it's supposed to do anyways. So I decided that I'm going to be doing some mods. I'm going to swap out the pickups, and I'm going to rewire the entire pick guard with more of like a vintage style with the rhythm circuit, cloth wiring, 1M pots. For pickups, I decided to go with the Seymour Duncan Antiquity I pickups, which is sort of like a 50s Jazzmaster pickup. They have Alnico 2 magnets, which are kind of a little bit darker sounding, which I thought would pair really well with the 1M pots that I'm adding, which is going to add a little bit more brightness over the 500K stock pots. I did look at the Lawler pickups and the Curtis Novak pickups, which both, are really good reviewed. A lot of people rave about them for Jazzmasters, but I went with the Seymour Duncans just because I've been a long time Seymour Duncan pickup user in a lot of my guitars, and I've heard they sound great. Mike Adams says they sound great, so they have to sound great, right? So I just went with my gut and bought them. We're gonna check out one more sound sample that I recorded with the stock pickups and wiring. Then I'm gonna rip out all that stuff, rewire the whole pickguard, put the new pickups in, and then I'll record the same songs that I've done so far throughout this video with the new pickups, so you can hear how it sounds before and after. And then after that, I will also do a dry, clean A/B comparison with the stock pickups and the new pickups, so you can hear more closely how each pickup position sounds before and after. Here we go. All right, so I just wrapped up the modifications on the Jazzmaster. I think it went pretty smoothly. Took about 3.5 hours, which was a little longer than I was expecting, but I did hit a few snags, mostly because I was wiring a left-handed guitar, and all the wiring diagrams that you can find to follow are all right-handed. Normally you'd just be able to flip it around and wire it as is, but because I'm using audio taper pots for the tone and volume controls, I did have to wire them right-handed. That way they spin backwards, but the taper is still correct. Otherwise, if you don't, all of the adjustment is all down on one end of the pot. So like 10% of the pot does everything, and then 90% of the pot basically does nothing. So just to get the right taper out, I did want to wire those backwards, and that also had the right-handed knobs that the guitar comes with. They spin the right way, so all the numbers go the right way now, which I'm used to that on all my other guitars. Other than that, I had a little bit of trouble getting the pick guard into the guitar after everything was wired up, just because the wires that are running under the pick guard, they all have to be following the routing of the guitar just perfectly so that it falls into the routes and doesn't lay on the body. And so as I was first getting it in there, some of my wires were hitting the body of the guitar, and I had to kind of push them around and maneuver them to get it to sit flush on the guitar. Luckily I didn't have to rewire anything. It was just a little bit of maneuvering and then it was good to go. Overall, I would probably rate this like a 6 or 7 out of 10 as far as difficulty goes. Because of the rhythm circuit and all the switching and stuff that's going on, I think it's a little bit more difficult than your typical like Les Paul or Telecaster wiring. Especially if you're left-handed, because it just throws another wrench into the mix that you've got to kind of triple check everything to make sure that you're doing it right. But other than that, you know, put it in, turn it on, and everything worked perfectly right away, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So what about the tonal differences? Well, right off the bat, I definitely noticed a little bit more clarity and brightness out of the guitar, which I'm gonna attribute to probably the 1M pots over the 500K pots. The low end feels a lot more percussive. It feels a lot more present. I think before it kind of sounded muddy and dull, and now it just has more life. Definitely notice it has more responsiveness, more pick attack, which I'm gonna definitely attribute to the Alnico 2 pickups. I have some other humbuckers that had Alnico 2 pickups, and that's kind of what I felt with those. I love the bridge pickup a lot more now. It has that snarl and sizzle that I would expect out of a bridge pickup single coil, and it definitely has more clarity. It just feels like a bridge pickup should. So other than that, I think the other main difference that I hear is definitely with the rhythm circuit. So if you remember the stock series mode that was in there, I said sounded kind of dull and muddy. With this, it still sounds darker, but it still has more clarity than it did with the series mode. The series mode also kind of sounded nasally and honky, and the rhythm circuit is more like what I was wanting, and I'm really happy with it. Alright, now that we've heard the guitar in the context of a mix, before and after the modifications, let's break it down even further and listen to each pickup position, before and after, just guitar, no effects. For this segment of the video, I'm going to run the guitar straight into the amp, reverb turned all the way off, same settings before and after. And just to mention, I did check the pickup height on the guitar before I took out the stock pickups, and I set the new pickups to the exact same height, so everything should be the same. I wanted to try to cut out as many variables as possible, so we're really hearing, you know, just the difference between the guitar before and after the modifications that were made. I'll flash a little clip of the gear that I'm using to record this, and then we'll dive right in. Well, thanks guys for checking out the video. If you liked it, please like it down below, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Overall, I couldn't be happier with this guitar. I think it sounds really great after the modifications that I made to it, and it suits me better. But don't get me wrong, it's a great guitar right out of the box, and I highly recommend it to anyone looking for a high quality American-made Jazzmaster. Thanks again, take care, and we'll see you next time.